Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today's video is about markets. So I'm going to be telling you everything about how to register, what to take with you, like any tips that I have, also things that you need to have, things like insurance, any requirements for selling at markets, all the information that you need to know. If you have noticed, I got my hair done at the weekend because we're out of lockdown. We have a little bit more freedom, not much, but a little bit, so I actually got to get it done professionally, which was nice. But yeah, we're gonna get right into the video. So I've got all my notes here, so I apologise if I look down because I don't want to forget anything because there is quite a bit of info today. So we're going to start with how to register. So this is my process that I went through. Obviously I haven't done any other markets, so they might be different depending on what market you do, but this is how my one works, so I'm assuming that they're going to be very similar. So the first thing was you inquire. So I did this through DMs on Instagram because that's actually how I found the market. So I'll put the name of the market in the description down below so that if you're interested, if you're local, it's in Buckinghamshire, so there might be some people that are interested. But I messaged them through there. I had a few questions that I wanted to ask first, which I'll get into. So I inquired that way. Then I asked my questions first because I had quite a few worries, obviously, with the current situation. I didn't want to pay £100 for a stall and then it just gets cancelled. So I wanted to know things like, is it refundable, about the pitch information. So if it's an outdoor pitch, if it's an indoor one. If it's indoor, then sometimes they might have to cancel those indoor stalls because of COVID. So I wanted to make sure that I had an outdoor one, so that if they cancelled, I would still be able to go ahead. They were going to try and accommodate the indoor people. They didn't have to in the end, but they said if they had to, they would try and accommodate them. But I was just worried that if there was enough space, would I get a place? So that was that. Those were the few questions that I asked. So they said fully refundable, which was great. So if it did get cancelled, then we would all get our money back. So then I applied straight away, filled out the form. So the form that I had to fill out, it wanted my name, so my details, as well as the business name, then your address, what you make, because not everyone makes food. Some people make like handmade gifts, some people make Christmas cards, some people make coffee, like literally anything. So it was what you make. Then they wanted your social media, which is so they can have a little look, they can follow you. So that meant that on mine they could check out that I'm insured, that I've got hygiene rating, all of that as well. I'm not necessarily sure whether that's the whole reason, but I think it's so that they can get a feel for the business and then see who's going to be attending the show. So that was that. Then you ask for the pitch that you want. So you had to select a box. There was 4 different ones. There was indoor, outdoor, and then there was Saturday and Sunday pitches. I've got it actually in front of me. It says that the prices include a table and a chair, so you get one of each. We actually brought our own, but I'll get into that later. So then they asked you about yourself, so it was just a bit of information about you. So I just said that I started the business this year and I'm a trained accountant and that I've got a big family, like little, you know, bits that you put a bit like on a CV, like it's just a few bits of information about yourself. And then it asked about public liability insurance. So this looks like everyone has to have this, whether you're doing food or not, so no matter what your business is. So it has to be 5 million, which is so that if anything goes wrong, because it's a market, you have to be able to cover a higher cost. So I only had 1 million, so I just circled that I don't have 5 million and then put that I would be upping it. In terms of insurance, it was £5 more per month. And there's a admin fee, so it's actually cheaper to keep it because they didn't charge me an admin fee because I told them that I would be changing it back the day after the market, but then I decided that I wouldn't after the guy on the phone advised me that I probably shouldn't. So you get charged this admin fee before, so you get £15 admin fee. The remainder of my plan that I'm on is £30, so it will be a £30 increase because it's per 6 over the next 6 months. So it's £5 a month, and then it would be another £15 to get it taken off because they charge an admin fee both ways. So it cost me £30 to change it back to 1 million after the market, and then if I did another market I'd have to change it again. So I thought it was just easier to just keep it at 5 million. So mine's about £18 a month now. It used to be £11.50, so it's gone up by like £6 ish. Then they ask you about first aid. This isn't essential, they just want to know whether you're a first aider. So if you are, then you would say yes, I'm not, so I put no. Then there is power, so if you need power, I don't need to heat or keep anything cold, so I just don't need any power. They also ask you about water sources, gas, things like fire extinguishers, if you have any of that, generators. If you're bringing any of that stuff, then you have to say that you are. I am not, so I didn't have to say that. Then they asked me about knives, so if you have knives at your stall, we did, so you would say yes to that, as that is a risk for them. So you just have to make sure that you're keeping, I kept all ours under the table so they weren't just on show, and we cut everything up before everyone arrived, so it worked out quite well. So once you filled out the form, it will get approved or declined. I don't really know how it works in terms of declining. I think it might be if you have very limited of the requirements, so if you don't fit everything, or if you put a lot of no's, then maybe you won't fit it. I'm not quite sure, because obviously I didn't get rejected, but I'm pretty sure that it works as a way of vetting people. So they can check out your social media, they can see that you have this type of business. I don't think they want like 20 bakers there, so I don't know if they vet it that way so that they don't have loads of the same business. I'm not really sure, unfortunately I can't say too much on that, but they approved it pretty quickly, so I'm assuming if you have all the right information, then they're happy to let you attend. So after that, they emailed me and it was like a confirmation, and it just said please pay your deposit, so I transferred that over, and then the remainder is just due before the show, or I believe on the day some people paid, and then you get a receipt. I didn't get a receipt. I might have to ask them for one for VAT purposes at the end of the year, so I might actually need to ask them for that. That just reminds me, so that I can then say that I paid that £100 and I have a receipt. So that is everything in terms of how to register. Now I'm going to quickly go over the things that you need to have. So this is like as your business rather than material items. So your food hygiene level 2 you should have if you are serving food anyway. So whether this is as a hobby or as a business, you should really have it. So that qualification, for those of you that don't know, it covers allergies, heating, cooling, freezing and storing food. Also how to safely cook food, so like how food should look. So it goes over like meats. Obviously I don't use meats, but it says about, you know, chicken being pink and meat being bloody. Like you need to make sure that things are thoroughly cooked, they're cooked to the right temperature, how to temperature check things. It also talks about management, it talks about diary keeping and also cleaning. So it goes into all of those things, allergens, cross-contamination, and it's all very, very important if you're serving people food, especially at such a large event. You wouldn't want to serve food and if your food is off, or say there's something wrong with it, maybe not off, but if there's something wrong with a batch of food and you sell that to 30 people and they all get ill, that's quite a big problem. So I feel like it is very important to have your level 2, because it just means that hopefully your processes will be all correct and you won't have any issues in regards to food and how it's prepared and the state that it is in. So it also mentions about like temperatures to keep things at. Cakes including cream shouldn't be out of the fridge for longer than 4 hours. So say you're taking a cake that has fresh cream to a market, you shouldn't keep it out of the fridge for longer than 4 hours. So things like that you need to consider. I don't use any fresh cream, so I didn't have to worry about things being out of the fridge, but yeah, there's lots of things to consider. So that is number 1. So the next thing is being registered and insured. This is quite important because you are serving people food and you obviously don't want people to get ill, and then if you are then have a claim put against you, you need to be insured so that you can cover yourself. It varies between organisers, I believe. But someone I was speaking to said that she hadn't registered because she's a hobby baker, and then she tried to do a market and they said that she had to be registered. I think it's the same across the board. I was never asked personally, but it is all over my social media, so I just assume that they check that. But I would recommend doing it even if you're just a hobby baker. It's really worth it because it doesn't cost you anything. They come and inspect your kitchen, which isn't scary at all. I'll put a little ticker up here for my hygiene rating video, but it's so much easier to be registered and have the freedom to do whatever you want in terms of like markets and like car boots, things like that. Whereas if you're not registered and then you think, oh, I really want to do this, you've got to wait 28 days, which is a pain. So I would just do it, get it out of the way, and then at least you know that you've got the freedom to do markets if you want to. There was also someone else that said that she had to prove that she had a hygiene rating. I haven't had that myself, but like I say, you might be asked if you are awaiting inspection. I believe she had like her own little inspection. I'm not sure if I like read the messages right or something, or if I like understood it right, but I'm pretty sure that she said that they did their own inspection where she had to bake a cake and then she could do the market. I'm not quite sure, but I haven't heard of that personally. You never know, they might ask you to do that if you are awaiting inspection to prove that you're working in a clean kitchen. But as far as mine went, they didn't ask me to prove my hygiene rating, but like I say, it is all over my social media, so they will be able to see it from there. So the next things is tips and what to bring. So this is kind of all one. So the first thing is work out your profits and costs for the day. So I worked out the cost of ingredients and the obviously cost of the stool. I added that in. So then I worked out that it was going to cost me £170 for the whole day, including the stool and everything that I'm going to be making. And I also included bags in that, boxes, anything that I purchased, and that just meant that I can sit there and say, if I make no money today, I've lost £170. So you want to know how much you need to make in order to break even so that you don't lose any money, because if you don't sell anything, then if you've put, you know, £500 into this, that's a lot of money to lose. So you want to make sure that you can afford to lose that money if you weren't to make any sales. It is very unlikely, especially at an event like this where there's 2,000 people coming. I think 1,800 people came on the day I went, and then 2,300 went on the Sunday. So it's very unlikely you're not going to make any sales, but if you didn't, then at least you know that you can afford to lose what you paid. So I didn't make too much in terms of like actual items because I didn't want to overmake. I wanted to use this as like a learning experience. I actually made the perfect amount because I had a few items left, like 8 items I think it was, so it wasn't enough for it to be a problem, and I mean we just ate them when we got home, it was fine, but I didn't want to take home like 50 items, so considering I made 300 things, to have 8 left is quite good. So you want to work out how much you want to make, how successful you think certain flavours are going to be. You want to have popular items as well, so like things like chocolate orange I found was really popular, so I'm definitely going to make more brownies of that because I found that 3 trays wasn't enough. So things like that, finding out what's popular, but again that comes with doing your first market, I think. So I've learned a lot from this market, so I'm definitely going to be making more of certain things, less of others, so you learn that as you go along. So you want to price goods reasonably, you don't want to overprice, but you also don't want to undercharge yourself, so make sure you're covering your costs. I stuck with my normal pricing, which is £2.50 per item, and then I soon found out that people were charging more because it was a market. So there were quite a few people that were charging like £3. This was like someone on the next day to me, and that happened to go really well, and some of my siblings were saying like you could definitely charge more for this, like markets are usually more expensive than like standard orders. So I'm definitely going to do £3 next time I think for items, just so that you get that little bit extra profit, especially when you're selling like one item. If you're selling a box of 4, then it's not too bad, but if you sell like individual items to people rather than like a standard box, then you want to like price them a little higher. Then about advertising, so advertise on Facebook, Instagram, literally anywhere. Just make sure that you're posting about it a lot when you're there. I posted a lot on Instagram, and I had some posts that were shared to Facebook. It's where you post on Instagram and it's automatically shared, so it's not a particular post that I've gone onto Facebook and done. And then it turned out that after the show, and I posted like some photos and said like thank you for anyone that came, all of that, then some people were like, oh, I wish I'd known that you were there, like why didn't you post about it? So I needed to make some more posts just for Facebook because some people weren't aware that I was going. So definitely post about it a lot so that people know that you're there. And the last thing that I've got is have an organised stall and be really approachable. So I had like trays for all of my brownies and I laid it out nicely. I had little posters all over the table which showed like my cakes, my brownie boxes, so that when I gave people a business card I can then say I do birthday cakes and I also do postal brownies. If you're from further away then you can get them posted, and people are like, wow, that's really good, because they've just bought these brownies, they've just tasted them and they're thinking I want a bit more, and I've just told them that they can get them posted to their house. So they were loving that. And then the approachable, it can be a bit difficult because especially if it is your first one, like the first hour I was a bit nervous, but then after that I kind of got into it and I felt a lot more like, I don't know, friendly and like chatty. So when people come up I would be all chatty with them. So it can be a little bit like nerve-wracking and you can be a bit shy at the start, but then you just want to kind of get in the groove and then be really approachable, and I'm sure that people will end up buying. The last few things that I've got on here, which I forgot about, is a few things to bring. So I bought an extra table because I found that it was really useful, especially when you've got lots of cakes. It means that they're not all cramped on one table. We also used it as a table for my mum, so my mum sat at the end of it with the money so that she wasn't like in the way of all the brownies, because there was 3 of us there, so it could get a little bit squished. Take extra change, because we had this problem so many times where people wanted to pay with change. They had like a 50 and they took all of our change, so yeah, take plenty of like pound coins, 50s, all of that, and also have more than one person, which obviously we did, but definitely recommend it. It made it so much easier. But yeah, that is all of my tips. So I hope you enjoyed this and I hope it was useful. Let me know if you have any more questions. Feel free to message me on Instagram anytime. I'm happy to answer any questions. So yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye!